Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Seems a good a moment as any to remind us to take a moment, grab a device. Here, I'll do it with you. Silence it, if you don't mind. Silence the phone. We have to talk a bit louder. I have to talk a bit louder. So, is it the lower pitch that works? Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I want to invite all of us to keep in mind a moment that's going to happen in a few prayers deep. After L'chadodi, we'll turn to each other. And I want to ask each of us to take a moment right now and think of one thing from this week that really helped you all feel Jewish in the space you were in, wherever it was. A moment, a symbol, could be a dreidel, it could be your child, it could be a conversation. I want you to think of one thing, and I want you to hold that so that you can share it as we go to greet each other after L'chadodi. And with that, I want to encourage us all to settle in to our seats, to take a deep breath. Shabbat can happen, but only if we let it happen to us. And as we settle in and as we get ready, I want to invite the Nolans to light our Shabbat candles, the blessing for which is found on page 120.
In the blue bracketed numbers. 120 in the blue bracketed numbers.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Wait. You got it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lachadik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen. On page 130, we'll begin the Psalms leading up to Shabbat with Lechu Neranana.
Lehu neranana, l'Adonai, nari alitzur, yishenu nekadma, fanav, v'toda, b'zmirot, nari alo, nekadma, fanav, v'toda, b'zmirot, nari alo.
Page 131.
Adonai, Shir Hadash, Shiru Adonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru Yom Le'yom, Yeshuato, Sabru Agoyim, Kevodo, Bechol Ha'amim, Nifleotav. Yalai, lai, 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 yalai, lai, lai, yalai, lai, 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 yalai, lai, 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 yalai, lai, lai, yalai, lai, lai, yalai, lai, 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 yalai, lai, 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 yalai, lai, lai, yalai, lai, lai,
Adonai Hagel haaretz yisimchu im rabim. O you who love Adonai, hate evil. For a light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. O you righteous, rejoice in Adonai and acclaim God's holy name. On page 134. Zamru l'Adonai bechino v'kol zimra Zamru l'Adonai
Bechino, v'kol zimra. Zamru l'Adonai, bechino, bechino, v'kol zimra. Zamru l'Adonai, bechino, bechino, v'kol zimra. Zamru l'Adonai, bechino, bechino, v'kol zimra.
Page 136. Mizmor litavit,
kevod shemo. Adonai Yevarech et amo v'shalom. Adonai le'amor yitein. Adonai Yevarech et amo v'shalom. Adonai Yevarech et amo v'shalom. Adonai le'amor yitein. Adonai Yevarech et amo v'shalom.
On the next page, we find the words L'chadodi, our prayer where we rise at the end to greet Shabbat as we were at a wedding. And we will sing verses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. This time with the added twist that let's really focus on singing verse 5 all together, although we invite you to sing all verses with us.
L'chadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
Lechadoti, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
Shema zakot v'zakor v'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hameyuchad. Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litila.
Lechadoti, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadoti, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lehu v'nelcha, Ki mikor habraha. Merosh mekatem nesuha, Sof mahaseh pechem shvatila. Lechadoti, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadoti, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
מקדש מלך ימלוכה, קומי ציב מתוך החפך, רב לך שבט במחבך, וכו יחמול עלייך חמלה.
Lechadoti, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadoti, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hinarim mefarkumim, Livshi bigtei tifatech amim. Al yad ben Ishai, Beit halachmim, Kava el nafshi gehala. Lechadoti, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadoti, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
התנוערי, התעוררי, כי בהורך קומי
לחדותי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדותי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
לחדותי
לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדותי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
לא תבושי
לא תקמי
מה תשפקי ומה תהימי. בך יחפשו עניי עמי ונפתנה עיר על תהילה.
לחדותי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
לחדותי
לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. והיו למשיסה שועשייך, ורחקו קומב עלייך. יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כמשוש חתן על כלה. לחדותי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדותי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי. על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. לחדותי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדותי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמונה עם סגולה, בואי חלה,
בואי חלה. לחדותי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדותי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
With our greeting of Shabbat, with the spirit of Shabbat in the room, I encourage you, take that thing you were thinking of, that moment, this particularly Jewish moment this week that you had, and share it with someone near you. And I invite you to share it with someone near you who is not of your generation. And with that, go. Wander as Jews. We turn to page 144 for the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitzkata ve'yitzkata shemei rabah.
Amen.
Ve'almai divrei hirotei ve'amlik malchutei. Ve'chayechon u'yomechon u'chayhetei kol beit Yisrael. V'yitzpa'ar v'yitzramam v'yitnasei v'yithaydar v'yithalei v'yithalal shemei dekudesham richu le'elam minchom perata v'rashim lenata tushberata v'nehemata Damiran ve'alma ve'himheru amen.
We turn to page 146 as we enter the next part of our service with the Baruch Hu.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la la. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim v'chokhmah potech sharim. Blessed are you, God, thoughtfully altering the time and changing the seasons, arranging stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. El Chai V'Kayam, ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening, and we say together, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ma'ariv Aravim.
We often talk in our next parah, Havat Olam, about everlasting love, and we have this beautiful setting here by Shir Yaakov, We Are Loved. You'll find it on our handout.
We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love.
Try that with me.
We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending
Even when we are hidden from ourselves, we are touched by fingers that soothe us. Even when we are too proud for soothing, we are counseled by voices that guide us. Even when we are too embittered to hear, we are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. We are supported by hands that uplift us, even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us, even when we are too weak for meeting. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. Embraced, touched, soothed, and counseled. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love.
Page 152. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
האמת אמונה, כל זאת וקיים עלינו. We read silently over page 156, or meditate silently on all which we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. Moshe Miriam ובני ישראל לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם. Page 158.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות הוסף לב, נורא תהילות הוסף לב, מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים. ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים. זה לי ענו ואמרו עליים לו לעולם ועד. יא לי לה לי יא לה 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 לי לי יא לה לי יא לה 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 לי יא לה לי יא לה 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 לי לי יא לה לי יא לה 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 לי. ונאמר כפר אדוני יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גל ישראל.
We turn to page 160 for our Hashkivenu and also include, juxtapose it with the song One Day on our handout.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu shomereinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu shomereinu lechayim. Ushmor tzidkenu uvoenu lechayim ushalom me'ata ve'ad olam.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I'm here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around. 'Cause all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play one day, 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 one day.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom
בעמיתנו שומרנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום בעמיתנו שומרנו לחיים.
Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 162.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש.
We rise as we turn to the next page to begin our standing prayer, where we turn towards Zion and face God with the openness of our hearts. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai,
Open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Hosei shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom alenu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru. Amen.
We take a moment also during our services to offer prayers of healing. Those who are ill, those who are dealing with addictions, those who are in the midst of grief. As my eyes meet yours, we invite you to share a name that you might like to add and bring into this space.
My sister, Robin Leiter. Grandson, Micah Rawson. John Sawtell. Jane Brown. Shirley Brennan. My sister, Lenny Trinella. His sisters, Karen Chamberlain and Liz Gunn.
Scott Van Gundy, Dave Stahl, Margaret and Larry McGuan, Carol Rosenberg, Batya Peters, Rich Bridger, Sandra Goldberger, Elise Musin, Mira Engel, Victoria Spiller, Debbie Pink, Denise Pringle, Berdine Coven, Linda Wolf, Avner Ben Aharon, Lou Alexander Gaith Levy, Judy Sutton, Ellen Kashik, Bernice Paris, Bernard Zeldo, Brant Kotowski, Howard Beckerman, Michael Rawson, Ivor Barber, Don Barnett, Orla Colgan. You can find the Mishaberach on page 371.
Mishaberach avotenu mikor habracha ve'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
To all of us, to all of them, a refuah shlema.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Okay. It only comes out fast when I spill it. Otherwise, I'm out of luck. So, let's talk about the Parsha. We're in Numbers again this week, and the Parsha is Shlach, or Shlach Lecha, which begins, anyone? Shlach Lecha, all right? Anashim ve'yatoru et aretz Canaan, right? Send agents to scout the land of Canaan, which I'm giving to the Israelite people. Send one agent from each of their ancestral tribes, right? Tishlachu kol naasi behem. Like each one send a chieftain, a nasi, among them. And for that, I'm going to give a brief summary of this incident of the spies, right? The portion goes on to describe their adventure, right? They're selected, one from each tribe. They're really actually scouts, right? They go see the land the land is rich and it's good, right? And life there is wonderful, but they also see the inhabitants of that land, who they describe as giants, as terror-inspiring. And they return and they say, look, the land is good, but the people there are giants and terrifying, right? They say this unusual line. They say, we felt like grasshoppers, and we must have seemed like grasshoppers to them. And they tell Moses quite clearly, we can't go in for fear we might die. All right? Two of them say, wait, actually, I think we can do it. They're overruled. And so upon hearing this lack of faith, the Israelites are instructed to proceed wandering the desert for another 40 years instead of going directly to the land of Canaan, so that the generation that left Egypt will die, and a new generation will enter the land. And by the way, they complain about that too. In next week's Parsha, they say, is it not enough that you brought us out of Egypt, a land flowing with milk and honey, in order to have us die in the desert? So our tradition takes a somewhat dim view of this story, especially with the scouts, who they rename as spies, right? They append that word to them afterward, the margilim from the Hebrew regel, like leg. A scout or spy is one who legs it, who hoofs it, right? Our tradition treats them quite poorly, these spies, because it's on account of their report and the fear that it represents that the entire generation is found not worthy of seeing Israel and dying in the desert. And I looked specifically at the commentary of the Netziv, an 18th century Jewish commentator and rabbi who, by the way, if you look him up on Wikipedia, bears a striking resemblance to a goat, but he is a brilliant man. And one of the things the Netziv does is he links the actions of the scouts and their subsequent report to a verse that some of you who are in the Beit Midrash are undoubtedly familiar with, from 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 5, right, which says, right, Vayirah Shaul et machane Pilishtim, Vayirah v'chered libo meod, v'yachered libo meod, sorry, right, which says, and Saul saw seashells, and Saul saw the camp of the Philistines. He saw, and his heart trembled greatly. All right, so that's this week's Parsha, and a little bit of commentary on it. And I want to set that aside for a bit, because this week I've done 6 or 7 pastoral counseling sessions. That's, part of the role of a rabbi, just to let you peek into my work. And some of the sessions are for congregants, and there's always the person who sat next to a friend of mine at a bar mitzvah party, and that friend said, oh, my buddy Michael could really help you out. So it's a bit of a mix. But in one of the sessions this week, it was so powerful and transformative and so related to this that I reached out and I asked her for permission to share it with you, with some of the details changed for privacy. My friend referred me and said, I think this person needs some logistical help, right? But it quickly became apparent in the conversation the real thing we needed to be discussing was her life. This was an older adult whose adult child had died recently of cancer just before COVID. And when she and her husband moved away from their dear community, needing a fresh start, just before COVID, they moved, COVID hit, and her husband actually died soon after. It was rough. And it was COVID on top of that, so not only were we in a new community, but all mourning rituals were not available to her, let alone the fact that, again, she hadn't had time to build a community there in the first place. And she told me about the experience. And she also told me rich and moving stories about her husband, her daughter, and I was, frankly, overcome with grief myself, and I was moved by the situation she was in. And by the way, I have to say, what do you say to someone in this situation? How do you handle this? I'm curious if someone has an ace in the hole. I did, actually, in this particular case. I said to her, I think you're practicing idolatry. I want to pause for a second. This is not the right thing to say to a grieving person unless you're exactly sure it's the right thing to say to a grieving person. In this case, it was. But please, instead say, do you have a therapist? How's your sleep, eating? Do you get out and about? I recommend those. But idolatry. What do I mean by idolatry here? In our modern world, you think about modern idols, right? You might think about money, right, and greed or power. But what would idolatry have to do with this case? In maybe the most brilliant sermon I have heard recently, Rabbi Adam Kligfeld delivered a drash on the exact type of idolatry here. When we think about our mental idols in the modern world, we turn our attention to, that we ruminate on, he offered this stunning insight. Just as we ruminate, we are preoccupied by money, by power, by sex, by status. So too are we oftentimes worshiping something else, the life we wish we were living. How many times in our head have we fantasized about what should be, what could be? How many times are we so focused on the mental construct of some life we've created internally that we neglect to attend to creation outside of us? And then there's a wrinkle to this that appears when we have a traumatic memory. I mean something very specific when I say traumatic memory. I mean it's a way a memory is encoded, a non-standard way that when it comes up, it causes a hiccup in our thoughts, prevents us from interacting with the world as we might like to, the world right in front of us. Sometimes when we face something, our heart trembles very much, even though we just need to move forward. And that's the pernicious thing. In the case of both the older woman I spoke to and the scouts of Israel, painful experiences in the past, right? Whether a few years from slavery or 4 years from COVID, some of the most awful experiences I can imagine have led them both to ruminating on a life that they wish they were living to the detriment of the one in front of them. The paradoxical fate of the spies is that for fear of death, for that life they thought they were living, they couldn't move forward, even when not moving forward into the land resulted in their eventual death outside of it. Torah's judgment of the generation of Egypt who was engaging in this kind of idolatry and traumatized by the experiences of slavery there is actually really harsh, right? The Torah says to them in response, you don't deserve this. Only later on does our tradition recognize that sometimes we are indeed fragile after moments of grief, after moments of being thrust into new places. And we are commanded in our tradition that if someone is mourning, to go out with them after their year of mourning, right? As a matter of fact, if needed, we are commanded to forcefully take them out into the community. I can't help but think that this longing for another place, another world, a past we desperately wish to change, is one of the most fundamental human experiences. Idolatry, in this sense, is a deeply human instinct. But our tradition suggests that a divine one, an instinct not native to ourselves, might serve us better. Look, chaplaincy is a weird field, right? The intersection of spirituality, health, death, a field found at the intersection of mind, body, and soul. And I share the story not because I think this is a prescription for grief, trauma, or collective mistakes. I share the story because sometimes it's the exact thing we need to hear, and I know someone here tonight needs to hear it too. In the case of the spies, the Jewish generation who left Egypt, it took an entire new generation to move forward with a clear understanding, with clear vision to what lay in front of them. But I think we can do differently. Though Jews as a community, as individuals, are beset by harrowing circumstances today, we can do differently, work hard to see the situations in front of us with clear eyes. We can let go of what our lives should be and simply let our lives be. In the case of my pastoral counseling appointment, well, we had a talk. Yes, we talked about idolatry and the tendency to escape into worlds that might have been. But we also spoke about community and that metaphorical rich land of opportunities that lay in front of her in the form of a loving community she has the potential to step into, should she only step forward. And today, I got a text, and she said, Michael, I think they'd want me to go out and make some new stories. Shabbat Shalom.
We're going to continue with the Aleinu found on page 586. We invite you to rise. And I think there's Jacob still in here?
If you are a child under age of bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah or bi mitzvah, or if you are feeling inspired, please come up with me to open the ark.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We continue on page 590. Kakatu b'Toratecha.
Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo
You may be seated.
We take a moment now in our service to acknowledge those who are no longer with us. And I want to list the name of some yard sites that we have this week.
These are those who died within the past year. Alan Schweibaum, Blanche Schoenfeld, Bob Eppinger, Eleanor Curlin, Ethel Forgottstein, Florence Steiner, Harriet Lappin, Helena Sobel-Fagel, Jack Rosson, Jeanette Pickard, Jim Demarest, Joseph Goldberg, Linda Dorfman, Robert Lavin, Samuel Goodman, William Brunner. The congregation offers its condolences to Robin Edelman, our former preschool director, on the death of her husband, Michael Edelman, known lovingly to most of us as Mickey. If you are in the first 7 days of morning Shiva, please rise and share with us who you are remembering. If you are in the first 30 days of morning Shloshim, please rise and share with us who you are remembering. Your mother. If you are in the cycle of the first year of mourning, please rise and share with us who you are remembering. If you have a yard site this week, an anniversary of someone's passing, please rise and share with us who you are remembering. Now you can support our community by standing or sitting, joining us with your voices or your hearts for Kaddish Avilim, the mourner's Kaddish, found on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yeruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei techol beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'alam U'Lamei Maya Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitpa'ar V'Yitromam V'Yitnaseh V'Yithadar V'Yit'aleh V'Yithalal Shemei Dekudesha Brichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechamata Da'amiran Be'alma V'Imru Amen Yehi Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the memories of your dear ones always be a blessing in your life and to all of your loved ones. Yehi zichram baruch. You may be seated. I'm nominating you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I'm going to highlight just a few announcements. You can find the rest on our website calendar. Upcoming tomorrow, June 22nd at...
29th.
You're right. The information is correct, just the date's wrong. Tomorrow is the 29th, as we all know. 9 a.m., we have the Shabbat Cafe in the foyer. Torah study will be at 9:30 a.m. At 10:30 a.m., please join us for Shabbat morning service with an offer for Shifra Arendine and Dr. Mary Turosi. Thank you. Followed by a celebratory Kiddush lunch with Rabbi Melanie Aaron and Michael Dine and family. On Tuesday...
I want to add for tomorrow that there is also going to be a baby naming we will be celebrating. It will be a day of simcha.
So there is no Beit Midrash on Tuesday, or is there Beit Midrash on Tuesday?
Beit Midrash on Tuesday. Announcement has gone out to those in the class, so you can skip that one.
All right, we're going to skip that one. Looking ahead, these dates are correct. Thursday, July 4th, and Friday, July 5th, the ECC and the office will be closed. We will have service beginning at 5:30 on Friday. Please join us to kick off our special summer red, white, and blue flip-flop Shabbat, our first flip-flop Shabbat of the summer. Please register soon if you'd like to join us for our dairy-free barbecue dinner after services and wear your red, whites, and blues. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. It is our pleasure to invite up Rabbi Aaron to lead us in Kiddush, which you can find on page 122. We're going to invite you to rise and join us. It's on. There.
Since many of us are joining here for dinner, we're going to include the opening paragraph, which you do at your home and dinner, on page 122. Yom HaShishi v'yechu hashamayim v'ha'aretz v'chol tzva'am v'yech Elohim b'yom hashvi'i melachto asher asa v'yishbot b'yom hashvi'i mikom melachto asher asa v'yivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i v'yikadesh oto ki vo shavat mikom melachto asher bara Elohim lasot. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzah banu, V'Shabbat Kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'charta V'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Hashabbat.
I want to invite you, while we're still standing, to join your family, your chosen family, a friendly neighbor. As we conclude our service, which you can read along on 603. And we say to our children, and maybe to those near us, Yisimcha Elohim k'Ephraim v'Chemenashe, Yisimech Elohim k'Sarah k'Rivka k'Rachel u'Chlea. May God inspire you to be like the loving ancestors of our tradition. And we say as well, Yivarecha Adonai v'Yishmerecha. May you be blessed by God and may you be kept. Ha'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha. May God's attention be on you always. Vayesem lecha shalom, and may all your ways be peace. Shalom Raha Yisrael Tasim Leolam. Shalom Raha Yisrael Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adam lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adam lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tosim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tosim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael v'kol עת ולכל שעה לשומרך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
I'm so sorry. I was like, who we start? I forget how it goes. All right. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Oh. One down, one to go. Well, many, many, many to go. Thank you. I gotta tell you, some people are gonna be mad about